Good evening, everyone. Welcome here. We are in Kyalami. We are in South Africa, and for tonight, there's going to be a great race in one of the most particular racetracks that are there in the world. I'm Chris Romano, and for the next hour and a half, I'll be your voice for tonight's race. No, I didn't say Fortnite. I'm quite sure about that. I hope. Anyway. As I said, we are in Kyalami, so we are at one of the most endurance skiing racetracks. In Kyalami, there is the 9 hours of... no problem. There is the 9 hours of Kyalami, which is part of the International GT Challenge. And it has been a track in the calendar since 2019. It was also prior to 2000, but in sporadic times. Formerly, it also held the Formula 1 South African Grand Prix. That was until 1992, and also the SBK and the World Sports Car Championship back in the 80s. But right now, the 4.5 kilometers racetrack, 16 turns, is mostly known for its GT3 and multi-class action. Realistically, this track also had a bid to enter the Formula 1 calendar in around these years, but as of now, it doesn't seem to be the case, even because the track needs to be grade 1. I don't think the track is actually grade 1. In fact, it is grade 2. The track is grade 2, so for it to be in the F1 calendar, it should be a grade 1 calendar with different wall, different gravel traps, different effectively runoff areas, and everything that revolves around the logistics, safety. It's a lot. But in any case, this configuration has been held since 2015, and so the track is particularly new with this particular configuration. Prior to it, it was slightly different, not too much. The turns were the same. The track was basically the same in every single matter, except for it being slightly elongated, literally about 50 centimeter. That's a very odd statistic, but I really wanted to say it. Regardless, the track only hosts the International GT Challenge at the moment, and it's the only track in Africa that is suitable for international series, or rather for the major international series. I think actually the only one, to be honest. We want to consider every African nation, so it should be only this one. But enough about Kyalami. Let's go see the current situation in the standing, because remember, this is a prize championship, and so the podium, speaking of prize championship, let's go and see what the prizes are, because as you can see here, Nitra Concepts offers the podium sitters with majestic prizes. There's a R300 bucket seat for the winner of the Case King.D Prime Series. There is an X 1000 gaming chair for whoever arrives home with a silver medal, and for the lower spot of the podium, a wind bundle from Nitra Concepts. Obviously, as always, a huge thanks to all of our partners, to Box 1 Racing, to Pimax, to Syncmesh, to Case King.D, to Hetner, Go Setups, and ACC Drive. All of this wouldn't be possible without them, and it is extremely good that they are still on board with us. The calendar at the moment is this one here. As you can see, we are in Kyalami, as today is the 20th of January. But then it is Imola, Suzuka, Paul Ricard, Silverstone at the halfway point, Barcelona, Spa, Nürburgring, Watkins-Glen, Valencia, and Bathurst to complete the championship. A 90-minute race at Bathurst. Another International GT Challenge racetrack, by the way. Is this a GT4 category race? No, it isn't. It is a fully GT3, and the first round already happened, and this is the current situation in the standings. Capo ahead of David Salinas and Jay Stevens, with Ian Rochelle and Romain Kolbaf running behind. And on 5, then everyone else that competed in the very first race, which is it's a bit easier to just go here and to let you see the race results, because the standings are effectively the same. At Monza, Kipo won by just 3 seconds, with Jay Stevens arriving 11 seconds behind, but narrowly ahead of Ian Ruschel, and then everybody else with Romain Colbat effectively in no man's land, and Ilke van der Meer following with a huge train behind that went from Lindblom all the way down to around the position number 14, I think it was. And this is effectively the race result from Monza. Now, just a little moment because I have to join the lobby. So I have to. Okay, everything is set on, and let me get into the race server. Okay, let me just, as always, couple of issues that usually shouldn't happen, but as always, these kind of issues happen. But anyway, for tonight's race, Kyalami is a very interesting racetrack. The more important thing here is to have a trustworthy car that can be downforce prone in the S's, particularly in the S's. Oh, maybe it was here. Where can I find you? So for some reasons, my lobby is not here. So let me just... just see here because it's a bit easier. Just give me a moment because a couple of things not entirely working. Aha, that's why. Found the issue. Here it is. Apologies for these couple of seconds where... Well, couple of seconds, it was an entire minute to be fair, where things weren't really working. But now everything is set up, and in exactly 10 seconds the free practice will be over, and with that we will start the qualifying... Okay, yes. The qualifying round for tonight's race. So let me just get everything set up properly. Okay, everything works. Apart from this little mistake, apparently I was simply in a wrong zone of everything else. Can something stop? Okay, just now Twitch crashed on my end. Just the chat, obviously, not the stream, at least. Okay. So back in the standings, realistically, this race will be a very interesting one for whoever has the Aston Martin or any downforce-prone race car. It shouldn't be a great racetrack for whoever has a sort of loose car. I'm thinking about the Audi R8, but also the Porsche. I could even think about the Mustang. That could also be a car that may bring some drivers in some struggles. But now let's go into the live, which is an entire screen. That works. Fantastic stuff. As you can see, everyone is off the pits as soon as possible. Everyone wants to be ahead of everybody else. But for now, first car ahead of the other is going to be Marcel No, the Colorworks Racing Team, in this blue and black colors. Just putting everything back to where it should be. And that's what it's, yes, okay. Also, the live timing is in chat for whoever is keen on watching from there. A couple more informations, but also in the tower on the left, you will have some very important informations rotating during both qualifying and the race. During qualifying, you will see obviously the difference from pole, but also the car being driven and the nationality of the drivers, whilst in the race the only difference is that you can also see the position delta on the driver's side. But in any case, as you know, will be our first car. 29 degrees is the air temperature, 43 is the track one. It's a fairly hot racetrack. And the number 14 will be the very first one to start the lap. So let's go ahead and have a proper look at the racetrack. Turn number 1, which is this one here, a very odd one, considering it's not really a turn. And then, effectively, turn number 2, which is Crowthorne. And then 3 and 4, you have to be very trustworthy of your car. You don't have to go over the yellow sausages, otherwise you jump off the racetrack entirely. Slightly on the grass there, no, not really on a barbecue for Marcel, no. And then when you see on the right there is a red marker, you have to brake there a tiny bit, aim for the inside curb at Sunset, and then go into Clubhouse at here on the curb on the right. You have to brake, go into second gear, slide tap on the inside curb. That was a slide that was not needed, unfortunately, so that's a bit of a loss of time for no. Over the S's 8 and 9 as flat out as possible, although you will probably lose some traction, but that's good because it means that you are really pushing the car. And then into the blind look-up braking zone, because in that hairpin you have to brake while not really looking at the braking spot. You kind of have to trust yourself there. And then here, about 70 meters prior to the apex, over the inside on the crocodiles, and then turn 14, you tend to go very much on the outside because the track limits are very forgiving. And then the most dangerous one, speaking of which, that was not going very wide on Cheetah. And then ENG, turn number 16. But Cheetah is one of the most particular turns of the racetrack, and Lorenz Van Rossem is now in car number 4 in the third place, as Mattia Max and Ilke van der Meer are ahead. Romain Skolbach for FRF or Race Esports team, as Sasha Fasner goes for LFM Esports ahead. Unfortunately, the liveries haven't been updated, so I will jump out and back in quickly just prior to the midpoint, so the liveries can just adjust. So for now, the situation remains quite calm. You can see Van der Meer having a very good chance at making it in pole position. Romain Skolbach will not be able to improve since he went off track. And Mattia Max is also in that regard on a purple lap. If things go smoothly, Max could actually get into the 40s, and not only that, but even in pole position, for now being held by Sasha Wasner. The numbers you are seeing on the side of the drivers, these numbers are particular because they represent the strength of the driver against the field. So for now, the car number 2, which is now in first place, should theoretically be the second best race car, with the first one being in 17th place, Capo. As Max gets in second now, as Wasner goes back in pole in the car number 3, 40.702, 68 milliseconds apart, with Van der Meer following Kolbach, then Dijkstra and Guida. Gianluigi Guida, the Italian, in the number 6, as David Salinas for Moonblack Racing Team now ahead of everyone else. With Alexis that was just ahead, that was Miguel Silverio in the LK Motorsport Racing. Another car goes up a couple of spots. That was Mario Hoffman in the other Colorworks Racing Team. As Capo is still here in 14th place. Quite a difficult situation for now for Po, that goes back into pits. In the meantime, that a lot of cars, no, not yet, I still want to wait a couple of seconds to try a little restart. To see if... Ooh, Sasha Wasner goes on the grass twice, and that's still a valid lap somehow. He could still be in pole, even by going wide a couple of times. Oh, unfortunately though, in 16 he was a bit too aggressive on the inside, but nevertheless, Wasner's pole position lap time was a very dirty one. But he still is in first place, just ahead of Max and Salinas. The Moonblack Racing, but in an off lap or a down lap, can't be completely sure about which one of the two it is. And then Mitchell Dijkstra will be here in the car number 17 with James Pludeman that goes into 9th place, and Faith Sankaya in 4th and Dijkstra in 6th place. Now everybody goes into the pits, and this gives me a little moment to try to address the liveries. So they just go into the standings to go into sort of timeout phase. The liveries should be on as soon as I get back into the lobby. Unfortunately, ACC sometimes doesn't really like liveries. Just going out and back in should work perfectly. Just give me a couple of seconds. And here I am back. Is it right? Yes, it is. Well, it's only server available, so it's not like I have much choice about it. If it doesn't work like this, I have no ideas, because our restart already has been put in place. So now back into live. Obviously nothing changed since the majority of the drivers were not on a valid lap time. 5 minutes and a half to go, and Van der Meer is there in second place. Actually, the only change is Van der Meer, 22 milliseconds away from pole, and still about to make an improvement in his own lap time. Let's see how the Honda driver can go on for AX Racing Team. For now, a single tenth, maybe two, out of the hairpin into turn 11. Is that I saw a change? That was Capo dropping actually a position, because Willie Hubbold is now in 17th. Capo still in 20th. Bit of a disaster for now for Po in no man's land. Currently on track 26 cars, as Van der Meer uses all of the available grass in a bit of a cleaner manner compared to Wasner, and as such he managed to get in pole, the car number 5, 40.380 pole position lap time for the Honda driver. Salinas also just jumped in second place with a 40.4. He was just behind Van der Meer. It's a very... Okay, apparently he actually had delivery, Salinas. It's just that it's lime on white, which is not entirely visible, and well, it still has... it clearly has a livery, but it's still not showing. It's very odd. Remains Kolbach. Remember, he was at the very top end of the standings some time ago, and for now it doesn't seem like it anymore. He is in 10th place, but improving as he goes now over the most difficult sector of the three, over the crocodiles, and then into Cheetah, inside the white lines, although he could go a bit outside of those. And Kolbach goes from 10th to 6th, the car number 9, just behind Marcel No. Sasha Wasner still in 4th place, and that was Fatih Sarikaya. I think it's Sankaya. It's just that for some reason the N is cut. Maybe there is an accent that is not recognized, so it says Fatih Sankaya. Now in 5th place in the car number 11, in the Garage 90. And in terms of improvements, Mattia Max is still there. The Alpha Racing Team! Never mind what I said. That's a gravel for Max, jumping over Cheetah. Obviously that's not going to be an improvement for Max. In terms of cars improving, there is still Miguel Silverio here in Cheetah, improving by half a second, but he is in 26th place. Just 24th now. Another car improving a lot is K-Po at the moment. Okay, no, deliveries are not getting recognized. I have no idea why. So Po is at the moment at the very top end of the entire standings. But for now there is a lot of struggle for Po in the car number 1. Sideways out of Cheetah, and that is from 15th to merely 11th. Still better than earlier, but going into the pits, this means that this was his last attempt at making a lap time. Tremendous situation, and not a good situation for current number 1 holder. What track is this? This is Kyalami. We are in South Africa, and this track is generally used for the International GT Challenge, and pretty much just that. And it's only GT3, it's 26, yes it is 26 cars for tonight's round. It will start in effectively a couple of minutes time. And that is Mattia Max, that's at the very final attempt, goes into pole position for Alpha Racing Team, car number 2. Is now in position number 1, but it still isn't over. It still isn't over, there is still Ilke van der Meer and also David Salinas. Both of them may put a purple lap prior to the end of the qualifying session. Also, remember that there is a pit window, so drivers will have to go into the pits. There is a 20 minutes long pit window from 40th to the 20th minute, and they will be obliged to remain stationary for at least 25 seconds. So the only real difference is the tire strategy, which could effectively cut 5 seconds from your pit time. So now Van der Meer still on the edge. So let's go and see Kieran Dreiskott that goes over the line to set the 6th fastest time in the car number 22. Van der Meer still with a possible purple. Can he make it? He's just 13 milliseconds away from pole. Goes over the line. And that is not enough. And that is not enough. He will remain in 2nd place, but still in row number 1. There was an improvement. That was Van Rossem. Van Rossem going into 8th place. The car number 4. For Unicorn Racing. Still a good chunk of cars. Alexander here in Verstappen.com livery, which will not be used anymore from the team for this season, as Verstappen.com team will go full Mercedes-Benz, both in Endurance and Sprint Racing in the GT World Challenge. Alexander goes into 16th, by the way, at a very final moment. He was the last one to make a jump. 4 minutes to go, 30 degrees. I need OBS, otherwise I can't see anything, and also my race control. Here it is. Again, apologies that liveries are not showing. I will be completely honest with you, I have no idea why. It's a plain simple truth. I have no idea why liveries are not showing. As I have the hub also active. Just waiting for the grid to be set. Which I think it could be now, maybe. Let's see. Yes, it is. Mattia Max, 130.367. That is the car in 1st place. Jurgen Van der Meer follows in the car number 5 with a 40.380, so literally 13 milliseconds apart. David Salinas follows in position number 3, car number 7, with Sasha Wasner alongside in the number 3 LFM Esports. Following behind, it is Romain Skolbach in the McLaren 720S Evo. The Frenchman will be on the left of Kieran Dreiskott, the Scottish driver, with a 40.682 in the car number 22, so a very good result for Dreiskott. Fatih Sankaya, the Turkish driver, will be in 7th, and 8th place for Van Rossem in Unicorn Racing number 4. Marcel No, number 14, and Gianluigi Guida alongside in 10th place in the Tempo Esports. Then Mitchell Dijkstra, 11th place for the Dutch driver, with Capo following alongside in the car number 1 in the Best Friends Esports. Jay Stevens will be in position number 13, car number 12, and Jens Pudeman, 14th place for the Apex Predators Sim Racing. Tozanella currently in 15th place, car number 16, and Alexander follows in the car number 21. The British driver is ahead of Mario Hoffman in the other Colorworks Racing team. Albert Wesker, 18th place for number 19 for the ASA team, 141.407, as Willie Hubbold is in the BMW M4, not the Evo yet. Miguel Silverio completes your top 20 by standing in 20th place in the car number 8 for LK Motorsport Racing. Daniele Modica sits in 21st for Empower, and Sven Dreher, that's 22nd place for the German driver. Then we've got Aaron Reins, that's position number 23 for the other Apex Predators Racing team, as Michael Kuzmirazik is in 24th place. Marcin Pisk in 25th. The Polish driver will be just ahead of the very tail end of the grid with Rafael Schwarz in 26th and last place. Go back here. As oh, already an issue. Serge Wasner in the pits. So Wasner will not start in position number 4. He will start in effectively last place and will have to go after everybody else. So already there is an issue for one of the drivers. Okay. Now just a formation lap prior to the very start of the race, which will be composed of 25 drivers on the grid and 1 in the pits. The reason for this, I have no idea. It could be any. Certainly not on purpose. Nobody wants a pit lane start. So now the two Hondas will have one less opponent. As one of the theoretically main protagonists of the race is currently in the pit lane and will have to do a comeback run from the very tail end of the entire grid. We are now close to start the second round in the Case King Prime Series with huge prizes on the line. As always, let me know if there is something you want to know, if there is something you don't understand from the race, from the championship. I will be here to answer the majority of your questions. As the drivers are already going side by side, that's because usually this track is being used in the endurance rounds, so the side-by-side procedure starts very early compared to some usually sprint race tracks. So we are after Cheetah and about to start second round of the series, and then hell will be loose. As you can see, there is a huge empty spot in 4th place, and it's close to the starting green light, and away we go. It was a very good start by the McLaren there, already gaining some little advantage, but more importantly, this is a side-by-side here for first place between Max and Van der Meer. Into turn number 2. Oh, there is a possible crash. Oh, there is a contact, and one of the Honda is off, and that is the McLaren. Romain Skolbaf all of a sudden finds himself in first place after Devin Salinas went bowling and took off the two Hondas ahead by impacting with the former leader of the race, which is now, I have no idea where. Barosem is here in 7th as Capo jumps into 6th in the car number 1 on the Mercedes-Benz, and Van Rossem has to defend against Jay Stevens, but luckily he manages to do so, as Aludwida also tries to gain the position on Matteo Zanella. Oh, the Ferrari a little bit loose, as Mattia Max is here in 14th place. After what happened at the very start, probably there will be a penalty for Salinas at the very tail end. Unfortunately, he was very loose on entry. He braked way too late and went on to impact with the first Van der Meer, and then with the pole sitter, which is now in 13th place, as Fatih Sankaya is here in second still, and TMX tries on the outside of the hairpin. Can he make it through the Italian? No, there's a contact. Oh, and the car is into the wall. Car is into the wall. TMX, so from bad to worse to terrible to a disaster all of a sudden, as the other Italian is here in 23rd, going back. Also, he was sideways, and then he impacted with the wall on the right compared to the left, and that was Mario Hoffman also losing the position on Michael Krzymirizik. No overtake happens here as of now, as Po is on a very dangerous position for Ilke Van der Meer. All of a sudden, Po finds himself in a very good place, even considering the standings. Whilst here in second place, Fatih Sankaya is still defending against David Salinas. Although, I'm very certain that Salinas is not really free of charges, and a possible penalty will be applied, but that's after the race, since the live stewarding is not on, compared to last season at least. On the other side of the train is still Po, very close to Van der Meer. It's important to also address the damages that the two cars may have had in the very early incident. Also on the mirror you can see quite clearly that Van Rossem is starting to become a danger for Po. Passes lap set by David Salinas, who is now thinking about making an overtake on the Turkish driver that goes all the way on the left to defend into turn number 2. A bit too late on the brakes, and that's a switcheroo for the Aston Martin driver that goes into second for about 2 milliseconds after getting re-overtaken, and then another swap happens there, and then another one here after the left-hander. But can Sankaya complete the pass on the outside of Sunset? The answer is not really. The number 7 remains ahead. Also a bit cheeky there, trying to push the Lexus as much on the outside as possible, and then here also a little argy-bargy between Van der Meer and Po, with a contact between the Mercedes and the Honda, with the Honda on the outside, then becomes the inside on the SS. But it's still the number 5 that stays ahead of the number 1, and not only that, but also now it is Van Rossem on the outside trying something. Oh, free wide! It's impossible, and there is another contact for the Honda driver that gets spun off a little bit, and that's a loss of 1, 2, 3, 4 positions for Van der Meer, who is now in 9th place. Po overtakes and gets into 5th, but there was a contact, and the two Hondas are not really having a good race. It is quite clear that. And the number 1 certainly gained the place, but it's going to be interesting what the stewards will say. Daniele Modica here overtakes Kieran Dreiskott, that's for 16th place, as the Mitchell Dijkstra also goes on an overtake on the outside. It's a bit difficult. As a matter of fact, not only loses the position on one car, the one that was trying to overtake, but also on Van der Meer, who himself tries to overtake Jay Stevens for 7th place. This is a bit of a mess, considering it's a double side-by-side, maybe 3 wide into turn number 2. Is it possible? Not really. The Lamborghini stays there on the offensive, but not on the left side of Van der Meer, who overtakes and goes back into 7th at least. A little improvement considering where Van der Meer was, and Jay Stevens is now in 8th place. Joey Guida follows, and Mitchell Dijkstra also alongside, and that was Po and Lawrence Van Rossem nearly colliding into Sunset, and that was another car on the grass. That was Marcel No on the grass. Following it is Po and Van Rossem. Then there was a slowdown. Apparently something happened here to Dijkstra. He's still in the middle of the enormous burger composed of a lot of cars. It's not even a sandwich anymore. It's a full 10 stories tall burger as Alexander is into the pizza. And apparently it's a retirement there. And Daniel Modica lost the position on Miguel Silverio. As you can see from the tower. But regardless, let's go back into 14th place. That was a bit interesting. As Mario Hoffman was certainly trying to get ahead of Kizmi Rizik. As David Salinas goes on for another proper lap, 40.995. But for now the situation is still evolving with Kieran Dryscott overtaking on the outside Aaron Reigns. Still side by side, but Reigns remains in front of Dryscott. Scottish driver actually lost a good chunk of time, and Daniele Modica managed to get ahead also of Sven Dreher into barbecue and then into sunset. It is the Italian that remains ahead of the Aston Martin, the car number 13. As you can see on the position delta, Max 19 positions down. Situation is far from perfect for the car in 20th place. Disaster at the start, and then the continuation was not better. Let's see if I can also provide you a replay of the action that happened at the very beginning. And the answer is yes, I can. If you're wondering why Mattia Max is now trying to, well, overtaking actually a car for position number 19, this is the reason for that. It was the very start of the race. Let's see from the helicam how it happened. So it was side by side between Lucky Van der Meer and Mattia Max, and then from behind, David Salinas, wrong braking zone applied, and it was a chain reaction that then brought Mattia Max all the way down to the lower places of the field. But it was not even that the main struggle. This was a second incident for Mattia Max trying to overtake Matteo Zanella. The car number 16 side by side between the two, just after Crocodile. And then a little bump between the two, which threw both cars into the wall. With the Italian that is now in 25th place. So Alexander now coming out of the pits, so probably there was an immense issue considering the car is 4 laps down. And also Wasner, remember Wasner was starting from the pit lane. 21st place at the moment for Wasner. Maybe 20th? No, still 21st. Oh, there is a cut-off! Oh, there is a cut-off! Oh, there are multiple cut-off! And that's Wesker. That's Albert Wesker, and at the same time Daniele Modica also on the wall. What just happened here to the number 19 and number 13? Let's have a look. Let's have a quick look at it. This was the first of the two incidents. It was Albert Wesker, and can't really pinpoint which is the other car, so maybe it's a bit easier from here. It was the number 18. Oh, there's actually a contact with a Porsche from behind. Then the 13 was involved, so let's see from the onboard. So Daniele Modica is the other car involved in the incident. Oh, actually, he lost it on himself. I think. I'm quite sure that Modica lost the car on himself. Maybe trying to go out of reach for the Lexus that was in the middle of the road. Maybe getting spooked by the very same car, and that was Daniele Modica going towards the wall with the front end. In the meantime, David Salinas is just behind Romain Skolbach. Last lap it was a 40.8 for Salinas, 41.4 for Kolbach. So it is quite clear that Salinas is definitely quicker than his opponent. Also, I think the Porsche was Mario Hoffman. I'm quite sure of it. Car number 26, currently in 13th place, that sparked the incident from earlier. But again, there is no live stewarding, so whichever penalty gets applied will be seen after the race. For now, Kolbach is still actually not defending, and that's Kolbach actually very, very optimistic about the situation. He thinks that he can defend while staying on the racing line, and actually he was correct. Kolbach remains in the lead of the race without defending into turn number 2, and the purple lap was just submitted. That was Sasha Wagner in 17th place. Still a very, very interesting scenario. With Salinas that may try something on the hairpin, but still he remains behind. 47 minutes yet to drive, and a pit lane trip in the middle with a pit lane that will be open in 6 minutes time, 6 minutes and change, as Wagner also overtakes Mattia Max for 16th place. Let's go back on the battle for the lead. Salinas very dangerous on Kolbach's mirror. This is just helping in a way Fatih Sankaya, but Kolbach is certainly struggling for the RE number 9, and that's Capo actually going very, very wide to overtake Marcel No into turn number 2, and also following behind it is Lawrence Van Rossem and Ilke van der Meer, I think also. Yes, it is. So 3 places lost in the matter of effectively seconds for Marcel No. From 4th apologies to 7th. As he tries again something, but nothing happens. Sasha Wagner also managed to overtake Kieran Dryscott that was sideways while defending against Mattia Max. Maybe there was a contact between the Honda and the McLaren, but Max overtakes in the car number 2 for 16th place. As also Rafael Schwarz for Apexatus Sim Racing overtakes Martin Pisk, 20th place for the car number 24. And at the same time there is also the overtake for Alberto Wesker that spun some time ago, 24th place right now against a very, very butchered Ferrari 296 GT3, which is Matteo Zanella on number 16. So Sasha Wagner still on the rise. Another overtake, but this time on Miguel Silverio for the number 3. But back here to position number 1. Kolbach number 9. Last lap it was a 41.2. 41.4 for Salinas, the last lap. And that's the overtake. That's the overtake on the hairpin. That may happen now with the McLaren that was not really defending the inside line. And that brought David Salinas into position number 1 for a brief moment, but realistically this could end with number 7 ahead of the rest. Still side by side, but the Aston remains ahead, and that's over Cheetah. That's the switch definitive. And Remains Colbaf also just lost half a second, apologies, half a second on just Cheetah. And now Fatih Sankaya is also on the edge of making another place for themselves. The Garage 90. Sasha Fasner, another overtake here. It didn't happen actually, it's Mario Hoffman that lost a couple of places on both Silverio and Max. And still struggling, but it seems a bit odd. Let's see what happened exactly on the Porsche driver. So let's have a look. This is a Porsche driver that goes... Oh! Little tap also by the Mustang. And then another position lost. Actually, 2 positions lost. The other cars that were following. And so Mario Hoffman, that's why he went from 13th to 16th place. As Jalil Guida is also right there for Jay Stevens. That's for that's a battle for 7th place, to be fair, considering Marcel No is just ahead of the duo. Slight lift off over Cheetah, just to avoid the yellow curb of death. And out of the last corner, it was a very good exit from Guida. And Jay Stevens will probably lose the place. No, actually, it was a very good acceleration for the Ferrari, a better progression for the Lamborghini, although that's the Ferrari throwing itself into the inside, a bit cheeky there, pushing the Lamborghini out of bounds, and then the Ferrari going also too hungry on the tarmac and nearly falling off of the track limits. But nevertheless, that's Gianluigi Guida in 8th place, Jay Stevens in 9th, the number 6 for Tempo Esports in 8th place. Twelve places have been gained from Kuzmirizik. It's the car that has the most positions gained. And it's still not over probably for Kuzmirizik. 2.8 seconds away from Prudman, although behind there is Sasha Vasner that was starting from the pit lane. And the pit window is now open, so we may see some drivers going for the pits. Certainly some will, more than others. Now still here on the LFM Esports Mustang number 3. And Jay Stevens is actually the first one to put the left blinker on. So everyone will then gain a place. Sasha Vasner very interested in making another place, but this time on the current best gainer of the entire race, and that's Vasner going on the inside into turn 2, little contact between the two. That's the overtake for the number 3, now in 11th place. Also Matteo Zanella, but interestingly it wasn't. Oh, there is a free wide situation there. Sven Dreher, Mario Hoffman And Aaron Rines that now overtakes the Porsche with Rafael Schwarz just behind. But still not over for Mario Hoffman. Defends in a way its own place. And Aaron Rines will not be able to overtake Hoffman, and the number 15 will stay in 18th place. As there's also the loss of place for the number 15. So 19th now for Aaron Rines, as Rafael Schwarz was able to overtake the Aston Martin in white and lime colors. So Zanella still in the pits. The repair phase is long. And for now, Guida is the closest to another car. With Guida that's after overtaking Jay Stevens, which is on an outlap, 27.6 seconds in the pit. So this means Jay Stevens didn't change tires. The Lamborghini driver didn't change tires, so very interesting tactic, certainly. The two cars now here into left-hander. Could it be a switch between Guida and No? Doesn't seem like it. For now, it doesn't seem like it. But never say never. I'm quite sure that the two will change. As a matter of fact, now the change happens. Gianluigi Guida slightly too much for the Italian, and so this means that Guida is now back behind. Marcel No, the German driver, still defends well. The car number 14 for 7th place, so maybe a trip into the pits may work. No, actually, nobody goes into the pits. But he goes into the pits, although something certainly happened. Oh, Dryscott! Kieran Dryscott, the car number 22, into the wall. Or is he into the wall? Let's have a look at what exactly happened here. With a replay. Oh, it was a radio spin! So possibly the rear end... The rear end slipped off. So actually it was... it was not a contact with the wall. I think it was just the rear end going into the gas and then throwing Kieran Dryscott nearly into the wall. Gianluigi Guida now on the outside on the S's. And that was the pass for position for Gianluigi Guida. There's also a possible overtake between the number 4 and the number 1, with Lawrence Van Rossem about to gain another place. That's 4th place for the number 4. And K-Po drops into 5th. With Ulke van der Meer that was starting quite ahead, and Po immediately jumps into the pits with 34 minutes to go. Another car that goes into the pits is Michele Silverio, and between these two, it is Mitchell Dijkstra also in the pits. So now the pit strategies are starting to appear. In the end, it was 30 seconds damage repair for Matteo Zanella, now in 25th place. So certainly it will be interesting to understand the tactic of the various drivers. remember that they must go into the pits at least once during the pit window, and more importantly, they have to remain stationary for at least 25 seconds. And effectively, the only change between a full service and a fuel-only service is 5 seconds, so they have to play their cards well. Jay Stevens, remember, he is the first of the cars that went into the pits, and also, for now, this is the only one that decided on going for fuel only. So scrap tires for Stevens. For now, Paul Dijkstra and Silverio have pitted and went on for a full service, whilst Sasha Fasner is merely behind James Pludeman. Last lap it was a 41.4 for Fasner and a 41.9 for Pludeman. 42.2 for Pludeman, 41.6, another 6 times gained for Fasner. It's still far from over. Matter of fact, that's the inside line for Fasner. That was not enough. So it's not enough into barbecue. But maybe on the outside of Sunset something may happen. No, actually, the number 3 remains behind the BMW number 10. Unless there is a change here into Clubhouse. Not yet. Seems like Fasner is finding a couple of issues from overtaking Pludeman. This time it wasn't as easy as the usual. In the meantime, there was also an incident between Aaron Reigns and somebody else. So let's have a quick look at it. See exactly how it happened. Maybe it was self-inflicted. Yes, it was. Grayson throwing itself into the grass and losing 3 places. When Emilia interpits, Fasner does the same. Probably Fasner knows that maybe Pludeman is a bit of a different kind of opponent. Not one that helps in the overtaking phase, so going into the pits and getting into clean air may be a very good tactic. In the meantime, Sven Dreher is barely in front of Mario Hoffman, and the last lap it was a 42.6 for both drivers. Miguel Silverio is yellow flag for some reasons. Not really sure why. But I'm more interested into seeing here the situation unfolding. K-Po and Jay Stevens. Remember, Jay Stevens didn't change tires. And as of now, it's the only car that chose this path. As Ilke Van der Meer managed to stay ahead of both Stevens and Poe, with Fasner 9 seconds behind this duo. But as I said, I'm not really sure how good the strategy of not changing tires was. So many others are now into the pits. Lawrence Van Rossum, James Pludeman, David Salinas, Fatih Sankaya, Marcel No, Gianluigi Guida, Mikhail Kuzmierasik, and Marcin Pisks. All into the pits. So still a good chunk of cars remain with the blinkers on for Jay Stevens, helping out K-Po restarted motorsport that probably thinks about his opponent in a different manner, considering it's not an endurance race. The hypothesis of letting someone pass to have a better long race in the tires doesn't really apply, unless Stevens knows that maybe keeping the same set of tires was not a good idea and he wants to keep them as alive as possible. Lawrence Van Rossem barely behind Fatih Sankaya. And probably there is going to be a switch into clubhouse, but not yet. Obviously the last lap is very useless considering it's the pit in lap. Kolbach also into the pits. So Brudman is now your new race leader, but just momentarily. Sven Herholz into the pits. Davis Salinas is the very first car of the ones that went into the pits. But as I said, nobody chose J. Stevens' tactic, and that is Ulke van der Meer into the pits again. That is a drive-through. That is a drive-through. I wonder if it is for speeding, or maybe it's even worse than that. It may actually be a stopping of 30 seconds penalty for speeding. It is a stopping of 30 seconds for speeding in the pit lane for Ulke van der Meer. So both Hondas had the worst possible race. And one has now a stopping of 30 seconds penalty, and the other is in 15th place without the car being repaired. Probably thinking that the car would be a loss too high to bear. A loss of time, obviously. And so keeping the car damaged to maybe have some hope in a sort of good place. For now, 15th place is certainly not a good one. 41.4 was the last lap for TMX, so ultimately it is not an horrible lap. The best one is a 41.0 set by Sasha Fasner, so maybe the damage is just enough to not be detrimental enough to be repaired. But obviously it is still there, so at the same time you have to think that time has been lost every single lap for TMX. So Mario Hoffman, James Bludeman and Albert Wesker are the last cars to pit. Actually, just one remains. It is Aaron Reigns, car number 15, ahead of everybody else. .580 for Sankaya, 41.640 for Van Rossem, and K-Po is actually gaining 41.3 in the last lap for Po. So compared to qualifying, Po is certainly having a better race. Whether it was some anxiety sparkling through in qualifying or something else that wasn't working, but now Po could actually be in the battle for the podium, because realistically these two are battling for third. The track is very hot, 47 degrees. The current temperature, 31 degrees, the air temperature. Remember that effectively that South Africa is in the southern hemisphere, so this means that right now it is summer there, so it makes sense that the track is so hot. Sasha Fastner just set the fastest lap of the race, 40.7. An entire second quicker than Gianluigi Guida had. And you have to think that without the pit lane start, probably we would have seen a different race for Sasha Fastner. For now in 9th place, which is virtually 8th. But still, it was a very, very big blunder for Fastner, you know, because unless it was a bug or a glitch, forgetting to put your car on the grid, it's a very rookie mistake. Especially for Fastner, considering he is one of the strongest in the field. And yet, that happened. Alexander is still in the pits, so probably there is something wrong with his setup. Whilst these two are still in a interesting bagarre. For 1.287 for Sankaya, 297 for Varrossem, and then you look at Kipo, 41.0. So definitely these two are not really helping each other, and Aaron Reigns will have to go into the pits in this very lap. So I suspect that the total amount of cars on a fuel-only strategy will be 2. With the second one being Jay Stevens. For now in 7th, 42.0 in the last lap. Kind of surviving. I'm not really sure that those 5 seconds were worthy. Varrossem still there, not able to overtake. Meanwhile, Aaron Reigns for Apex Predators Racing Team goes into the pits. And so this means that the leaderboard is finally without pit strategies to be fought. And it's as it is, 20 minutes of racing remain. Fastner that is now very close to Gianluigi Guida, 41.3 for Guida, 40.8 for Fastner. With these two that are practically matching each other's lap, but now Varrossem has had enough. He thought about it, but nothing happened. So that's another place which an overtake could have happened, but didn't happen. Maybe the switcheroo here, just prior to the S's, not really, not even here. And this is just going swimmingly for K-Po, because he's looking at what's happening in front, and there could be a podium out of whatever this is. Considering his qualifying result, that is. Considering that Jay Stevens was starting 7 positions down compared to where he is now, and in qualifying it seemed like he was nowhere, and all of a sudden he may actually be in oh wait, the cable is not it's the same, 7 positions down, and all of a sudden Paul finds himself in a battle for the podium, and he was starting 12th. Certainly something that nobody would have imagined, not even I. This has been helped, this whole result has been helped by the various incidents that have happened, including the one for the two for Mattia Max, the two for Ultima Nemir, with a stop and go added to trouble, to effectively what happened at the very start for Vazner himself, as now Mattia Max on the inside he goes, and that's another place gained for Mattia Max that was starting in position number 1 and now fighting for the very tail end of the top 10. But yet again Mitchell Dijkstra manages to defend against the Honda, possibly now struggling because of the damage that the car sustained some 45 or so minutes ago. Last lap for Rossem and Sankaya, practically the same, 41.165 for Rossem, 185 for Sankaya, and Kipo actually made a huge mistake somewhere, 41.7 in the last lap, so not really on the same page as the other two, whilst Mitchell Dijkstra and Mattia Max are also battling for 10th place. But even for these two, that doesn't seem to be an immediate overtake. Let's have a look at the position delta. Look at that. T-Max 10 positions down, Rizik 11 up, and 7 up for both Poe and Stevens. There's also here, there's the battle for 6th place. Jay Stevens, Giorgio Guida, and Sasha Vazner. With Jay Stevens that didn't change tires, Giorgio Guida that started in 10th place, and Sasha Vazner that started from the pit lane. So it's a three-way battle in 3 different conditions. With a possible pass for Sasha Vazner, and matter of fact, it happens now. Into the inside of Crocodile, and that is Sasha Vazner going into 7th place. Someone is into the gravel, someone is into the gravel, Capo is into the gravel, but survived. And Sasha Vazner, probably 6th place for Vazner at the very end of the straight line. In the meantime, Mitchell Dijkstra still defending against Mattia Max, but let's have a look up front for now, as Vazner goes and overtakes Jay Stevens on the inside of turn number 2, and by turn number 3 it's already over. And that's also the Italian jumping ahead, so that's 2 into 1 for both Vazner and Guida, with Stevens losing 2 places, and at the same time there was the overtake for Mattia Max on Mitchell Dijkstra. And let's have a look at this one. So how did it happen? Well, it was a simple exit speed for the Honda driver. McLaren tried to answer that, but didn't. So now the Capo is, I won't say a distant memory, but those 3 seconds are difficult to gain back. Earlier on, Poe was gaining a lot of time. The trip into the gravel after Cheetah didn't help. A second .3 was lost on the last lap alone. And when you hit the curb, or rather when you make a mistake, you tend to think about it maybe a bit too much, and then you go into overthinking mode and you go slower on the place that in which you made the mistake. So realistically, Keipo might slow down from now until the very end of the race, maybe thinking that ultimately that's enough. There was a yellow flag for a brief moment here. Maybe that's enough. 5th place is enough for Po. Just out of curiosity, let's have a look at how it happened for number 1. This was the moment for Keipo. He goes slightly too much on the inside and manages to survive, but might as well think that that was a warning shot, and another mistake there could end up with a car more towards the wall than to the racetrack, because Po was lost another 3 times in the last lap and might do the same on the next one. $11 minutes to go, lap number 28. Did I survive? Okay, I survived! Hell yeah! I survived the disconnection. I have no idea how. Okay, that was odd. My Wi-Fi went off for maybe a second. That's very odd. That happened. Should I worry? Anyway, Varas, I'm here. Now alongside Fatih Sankaya, but this time again the Lexus has the upper hand on the progression phase compared to the Ferrari, and Varas still unable to make the pass. This is the closest fight we've got on track, and realistically this is the most important one too. So remember that Salinas might actually have a penalty pending to their name. So last lap was 41.8 for Sankaya, 41.7 for Varosen, 41.2, wait, 41.4 for Po. First times gained, but out of those 3.2 seconds, Po needs something more. So either these two battling so hard they lose a second or two, or an incident between the two, but the current pace and the rhythm 3 times per lap are certainly not enough to gain back the duo, battling for third. Once again, into Liu Cup, very close between the two. It seems like the Ferrari has a better pace in every aspect of a lap, except one, progression. The Ferrari is kind of slow compared to the Lexus in Sankaya's hands. So probably less downforce for Sankaya compared to Van Rossem, that put maybe a point or two more on downforce. This led to a disadvantage on the Ferrari side, even because the Ferrari itself is a is not great under acceleration, but it's very good in progression. But you really need a long straight for it to be visible. It's not really that long. The one here in Kyalami. And even in this lap, Van Rossum remains where he is. Oh, wrong camera. But also there was an overtake that's still going on. Schwarz and Verher with Verher on the outside. On the McLaren side, that's number 20 trying to get ahead of the McLaren. And after barbecue, now Mario Hoffman is also an active protagonist of battle for position. That's for 15th place. But never say never, because here is the Ferrari attempting the overtake into Crocodile, but still on the outside. It's the only time that I don't look, something happens. And once again it's Lexus keeping the nose in front of Van Rossum. Well, the distance is very little between the two. I wonder if Van Rossum could attempt a dive into the inside into turn 2. He breaks way later compared to the Lexus. It was quite visible there, especially. But he wasn't close enough, as Hoffman overtakes Sven Dreher in the Crocodiles, and then after Cheetah, the Porsche is actually in the middle of these two that were battling for position. So 16th place for Mario Hoffman. Even something more, as Schwarz is barely ahead. Towards turn number 2. And McLaren remains in 15th place. With Hoffman maybe shortening the distance between the two cars. Number 26 that may actually be en route to put forward an overtake for the Colorworks racing team. Oh, slight loss of traction for number 26 as Rafael Schwarz uses this to his advantage. So Kipo, white flag, so probably he went wide once again in Cheetah. Maybe the Ferrari will try something here, and the answer is not yet. Another lap where the Ferrari remains behind the Lexus. It was also an incident between Aaron Reigns and Marcin Pisks for 21st place. And another one apparently, because both cars are off. What just happened here between these two? The second incident, so we will have a look afterwards. But the fact that these two have been involved in 2 incidents, and the way it happened, that incident, I don't know. But it doesn't spark exactly a racing incident. Meanwhile here, Mario Hoffman goes into the inside, and that's the position challenge from Hoffman. As oh, that's important. K-Po drive through. If it's true, it will be a great change in the standings. As Mattia Max overtakes Marcel No for 9th place. And it is correct. It is a drive-through for track limit for Capo, the number 1 through the pits. And even in the standings, that could raise concern. Meanwhile, here, the McLaren still trying to get the defense action up, but the Porsche is on the outside trying to overtake on the McLaren driver. 2 into 1 into that can work. In fact, the Porsche is sideways and somehow survived that, with Aston Martin overtaking Hoffman and Rafael Schwarz remaining in 15th place, with Hoffman going for the switcheroo and maybe thinking about going back into 16th at least. Side draft, not enough, so the Porsche goes back behind the Aston Martin, with the Aston that also tries a move into turn number 2 into the inside of Rafael Schwarz. But once more, McLaren manages to remain ahead. Never mind what I said, because there is a contact between the two cars that can't really turn each other, and that is Mario Hoffman overtaking both of them. This was battling for position, and that's 16th place still for Sven Reher. Mario Hoffman is now in 15th, and Rafael Schwarz loses 2 places. What a scene that was! Sven Reher went a bit over the limit, collided with the McLaren driver, and the two cars weren't able to close the radius in time. They both went over the grass, and that led to Mario Hoffman being very much in the correct spot at the correct time, overtaking both of them. So now, I'm very curious about what happened to the number 15 both times. And so, we'll do so by looking at the incident, both incidents that happened to the number 15. So let's see this one first. It is against the McLaren number 23, Marcin Pis. With Aston that was certainly trying something interesting on the inside. Oh yeah, Aston was a bit optimistic on thinking where the limit was. It is maybe the last lap, effectively, as Rafael Schwarz goes back in front of Sven Reher. So let's see if it is the last lap. Probably it is, to be fair. It's very much on the limit, 20 seconds. Yes, I think it is the last lap, to be fair. It's very much on the line, but this could actually be the checkered flag for David Salinas. Started in 3rd place and into the final corner to win the 2nd round of the Case King Prime Series, just on the dot. And that's the win ahead of Romain Skolbaf. And Fatih Sankaya manages to remain in 3rd, with Lorenz Barrosen following in 4th, Sasha Fasner in 5th place, starting from the pits. 6th place for Jaligi Guida, same as the car number. Jay Stevens, 7th place without changing tires, so all in all, didn't go so bad. Mattia Max somehow arrives 8th after everything that happened to him. Marcel No in 9th, Capo completes in 10th place after the drive-through. Michel Dijkstra 11th, 12th for James Prudeman, 13th place for Michael Kuzmerizik. 11 places gained from the start of the race. Miguel Silverio in 14th, Mario Hoffman in 15th place, ahead of both Rafael Schwarz and Sven Reher. Then Willy Hubble in position number 18, 19th for Daniele Modica, with Kieran Dreiskott completing in 20th place, 21st for Ulrike van der Meer after a stopping of 30 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. Albert Wesker after a spin in 22nd, Aaron Reins in 23rd and 24th for Marcin Pisks. And I'll be honest, but I really want to see what happened the second incident, because I saw both cars not on the racetrack, so let's have a look. So this is the second incident. I can't see the McLaren. Oh, now I can see the McLaren. Oh, that was way off the limit for the McLaren. What has happened there? What has happened there? Let me have another look. Let's have an onboard look at it. Oh, he braked way too late, tried to avoid everyone. And unfortunately, he just managed to avoid one of the cars, not two of them. So that's what happened, and the connection has been lost. So, can I at least go into the replay, please, before the game crashes? I don't think I will be able. Okay, for now I am here. Just wanted to put... I know the game will eventually crash, so I want to do it before it does so. Let me get rid of the tower. Okay. And also, let me put the standings up front first. To see when these will eventually update. Ta-ta-ta. Maybe if I refresh now. Usually the standings take a bit to update. So for now we will just talk about how the race unfolded. It was certainly a very interesting race. 60 minutes of action. We didn't tell the results. Now, yes, results are now updated. As you can see here, David Salinas for now in first, Romain Skolbaf, then Fatih. It is an R. It was an R, apologies. It is an R. I thought it was an N. The R and I close together. It was an R and an I, apologies. So, Sarikaya in third place. Now, if my results would go back to the top 15, thank you very much. Then Lawrence Varossem just barely behind in fourth, Sasha Wagner in fifth after starting from the pit lane. Guida Stevens, Max, No, Pou, Dijkstra, Pludeman, Kismerizik, Silverio, Hoffman, Schwarz, Dreher, Habold, apologies, Modica, Dryscott, Van de Meer, Wesker, Reins, Pisks, Zanella, and Hunter completing the 26 drivers lineup for tonight. What to say about this race? Well, there were a lot of incidents of any kind. There were drive-thrus, there were stop and goes, there were incidents, and there were people starting from the pit lane. And certainly one to analyze once again after all of this has happened. In the meantime, I would also like to tell you all that on Thursday, in the meantime that the standings will eventually update, on Thursday there is the Le Mans Ultimate schedule, and that will take place every Thursday, obviously, like that's very much useful to be acknowledged, and it's the Simverse Pro Series with huge prizes on the line for the participants of the challenge, let's say. There are a lot of very interesting prizes, but first let's go into the schedule because there is a 12-week multi-class with GT3 and hypercars on various locations. This is the schedule in front of you with Spa being the next one in 2 days. But more importantly, because I know that you want to know this one, and these ones are the prices with a 1,250 euros coupon for... all of these are coupons, by the way, but it's a coupon at Simverse by Thrustmaster. That is a 750 euros for the second place holder at Simverse for whereas with the silver plate by Next Level Racing, and a 100 euro coupon at Simverse by Moza Racing for the bronze bearer driver at the championship's end. You might have missed one round. It's not a problem because there are drop rounds in the LMU calendar. So if you fancy joining into the challenge and to get something for yourself, to maybe use on the Simverse website, well, this is your chance to shine, as the Le Mans Ultimate will take place every Thursday, and it will also be live commentated and also live stewarded. The results are still not updated. Very unfortunate. And also that series will have after race interviews. Okay. Voilà. Unfortunately, I think it will take a while. But another one. Oh, it worked. The Salinas for now is the leader of the championship with Romain Skolbaf Capo following in third. 2 weeks have been counted, but remember there are also drop rounds here that will be counted after the very tail end of the championship. J. Stevens 4th, Loris Varrossem 5th place for now for the Belgian driver. Obviously, the championship is still long. There's a long time to go until the very end of the series. But regardless, I was Cristian Romano. This was the second round in the KTM Prime Series. And I will see you all on Thursday for the Le Mans Ultimate Challenge, as I just mentioned seconds ago. But in any case, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, and see you next time. Bye!